Hello and welcome to this episode of Trash to Track. Midweek episode, no less. But I thought I'd upload this as this doesn't go according to plan. But putting it on the track proves that it's a very sluggish runner. The lights are on, the headlights, but it's not trying to move at all. That the actual gear is split on the axle. There is a crack running all the way down it, and it's not sitting tight on the axle, and I'm able to turn it. So I checked the other one, and that's the same. So to my absolute horror, these are split as well. So all four drive axles have split. The gears are split and none of them are sitting tight on the axles. And if I clamp them together like that, I'm hoping that that will repair the crack and also allow me to super glue them back on the axles. So here are all four axles. These are when they were setting. I left them for 6 hours to set. The glue had gone rock solid. So I've put the wheels back on. I used a wheel puller to pull the insulated axle off. All the axles, all the gears are in the right place. The axles are back on. They've been back to back tested, so the gauges are all correct. So I'm going to put these in the chassis and I'm going to put it on the rolling road and give it a test run. Now initially it wouldn't work, but then it jumped into life. As you can see, the lights on there, and at quite fast speeds it was okay, but as you'll hear now, when I slowed the speed down, it clicked like mad, and then it got to the point where you couldn't change direction. The whole thing would seize up. So that was that. The clicking noise it's not working. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking this bogie apart again to check the status of that, of the glue, of the epoxy resin, what we did before. And to my dismay, the cracks have opened again and the gears are no longer gripping on the axles. So even the two-part epoxy resin would not hold these together. So that's that. That is it. I'm out of options. I cannot find any spares. All the gears cogs I've got at home are too big. I really am at a loss at what to do now. So this will all have to be put into the pending drawer. This is my loco. This isn't one that one of you guys has sent in, so I'm not pushed for time on it. But if anybody out there knows of any axles, gears, any replacement parts I can use on this V300, please do get in touch via email or leave a comment. I'd love to get this running. It's a lovely looking model. We are back with part two. Now, in part one, as you've just seen, these original gears split. But thanks to you guys commenting and the emails I received, I actually did find some replacements for these, and these brass ones off eBay in Germany. And I was very lucky that the guy actually sent them over. Now, they needed drilling out to 2.5mm, which I've already done. And I've already fitted to the axles. But coincidentally, these 10 teeth gears are also exactly the same gears that are on Hornby Class 20 locos. So I got some of those as well. So there are spares about. Now I've already fitted 2 of these brass gears to the axles, and they are quite a nice fit. And the way I did this was using this small vise. I just put them on the end of the axle and then tighten the vise up to initially get the axle into the brass gear. It's a very tight fit, having been drilled out to 2.5mm. Now once that's in as far as it will go and it's seated on the axle correctly, then I need to undo the vise and then get a pusher piece. In this case I used a piece of plasticard tube because for love nor money I could not find my brass tube while doing this. I looked everywhere for it, couldn't find it. So using this, the plasticard tube does bend, but it doesn't affect pushing this onto the axle. Now I tighten it up and make sure that the gear is in the correct place, like that. Remove the piece of plasticard and the gear is on, and it is on very tight. And then the wheel is then also squeezed on And then after that's done, the back-to-backs are checked to make sure that the gauge is correct. So I just tighten that up there and it pushes the wheel back onto the axle. Now that that's all done, these new gears are very, very good. They're very strong, they're on there, and they are exactly the same 10 teeth gears as the plastic ones that had split. We can now start reassembling the model. Now this is the gear tower and the wheels go in a certain way. But first of all, I'm going to have to clean these wheels as I'd only cleaned a few of them. So using the fiberglass pencil, I'm just going to polish up the wheel treads and also the pickup piece on the inside of the wheel there, just working over a cloth to catch any of the fibres that work loose. Now all the wheels have been cleaned. It is time to put some lubrication in the gear tower. In this case, I'm going to put some Labelle 106 grease down there. The worm gear goes in place, and I'm going to put a bit of grease on that. Now all these have been cleaned out. There's no grease left in these at all. Now people have been asking me where I get my Labelle 106 from, and I buy it from Trains for You. They have a supply in there. Now these gear tops, these gearbox covers, are a very, very tight fit and often break when removed. But I also found that, like this one here, this one's broke. When I removed this, it snapped. But this Hornby part number here, X9618, again, class 20 gearbox covers. These are exactly the same and fit this Lima model exactly. So there are spare parts about for this. So if you've got one of these that's broken, you can use the gears and the gearbox covers. Now, that was also lubricated like before, and then the axles were put in. So I'm just making sure I get the right ones here, because one of these bogies has traction tyres and the others don't. So I'm just going to put this axle in here, and then I'm going to put the other axle in. Now these metal pickups, they need to sit in the rims on the backs of the wheels to make sure they're in good contact and picking up electricity. So that's that in there. And because these are brass gears on plastic, I'm going to put plenty of this grease in here all the way along the drivetrain so that the plastic doesn't wear away with the brass very quickly. The bogie frames themselves are given a quick clean up with a cotton bud of methylated spirits to remove the old oil and accumulated dirt on there. And then this was replaced onto the main frame. Now this clips in place. There's two side clips on the middle axle there, and then there's two screws, one in each end, that hold this in place. Why the clips are there, I'm not quite sure. It is a bit overkill, but at least it holds it in place firmly. So I tighten up both of the screws, and that is one bogie complete. But however, when I put the drive shaft back in and turn it by hand, it won't turn. Now I initially think that the gears are wrong, and I think I've been led up a garden path here, and I think, oh no, it's not working. It will not turn. It's jamming up worse than it was before. But unbeknownst to me, and another learning curve with this Lima model, the reason this locked up, when I stripped it down again, the bogie frames go on a certain way. Now I'm going to show you now this bogie frame here. There is I don't know how good the camera picked up, but there's a cutout there, look, for the gear to sit in. And I'd actually put the bogie frames on the wrong way round. Now it's imperative that cutout is above the gear, otherwise it will stop it from turning. So I'd actually put the bogie together backwards. So I needed to strip it down and put it back how it was. And then when I try the drive shaft this time, after it's been reassembled properly, when I can get the drive shaft in, it's fell out again. But it does turn, and it is all correct, and it turns lovely and freely. So now it's time to put the bogies back on the actual main frame here, and the drive shafts were difficult to get in. The bogie itself clips in the die-cast weight, but to get the drive shaft in, you have to remove that PCB at the top and then manipulate the drive shafts in either of the yokes, one on the bogie and one on the actual motor. Now I'm going to take that PCB board off because I'm going to fit a digital decoder to this model, and that PCB is no good to me at the moment. The bulb lighting on here, if I wire that up for DCC, the voltage will blow them. So I'm going to leave those disconnected for now. And once one bogie was clipped in, I did the other one. And as you'll see here, I replaced that PCB with a length of plasticard. wired the DCC decoder up with the red and black wires to the track pickup, orange and grey to the motor, and everything was taped down to that black plastic. Well, in the end, what I had to do was remove that decoder and actually sit it into the cab, because there's not enough room for the decoder to sit on top of that plastic inside the body shell. And what I've also done is I've linked the bogies together for pickup so that the electric flows better. And with a battery test, the model actually does run, and it runs a lot better than it did before. Now it's running slowly because my battery's dying, but at least it's running this time, and there's no clicking, and it's actually running rather nicely. So it's time to put the body shell back on. Now this will only go in one way. You have to line up all the body details with the chassis details. Various hatches and hatch covers all need to be lined up. And once that's lined up, the body shell is a very tight fit over the die-cast weight, so you have to manipulate it around. But eventually it will clip back in place. There are 2 clips each end, one under each cab door and one in the middle. And now that the body shell is back on, I'll give it another quick battery test. And I'm going to fit all the detail parts that came with the model, the windscreen wipers and all the brake rigging. But you can see now that the model is running rather nicely. Now, as I said, this model came with a lot of additional details: pipes, windscreen wipers, brake rigging. Well, I'm not going to fit the end pipes because I'm going to put couplings on it, but I am going to fit all the brake rigging, and I'm going to fit the windscreen wipers. Now these are really easy to fit, self-explanatory. Cut them off the sprue, and then with a very small amount of super glue, they are pushed into the pre-moulded holes on the bogie sides. And this was done 4 times for each bogie, but I'm only going to show you one as a demonstration here. And that really does complete the look of the wheels. Now what I should have done in hindsight is paint the wheels black so that they're not so brassy and standoutish. So I'm going to do that after I've finished filming. But a small amount of Loctite super glue on each of those spigots there, and this will then be pushed into place and the glue left to dry before tackling all the other brake rigging. The windscreen wipers were fitted in exactly the same way, using a very small amount of super glue applied by a pin so that the glazing doesn't fog up. So here we are with the finished article. The windscreen wipers are on. One of the pipes has been added to the end, the one that's not going to interfere with the coupling, and all that brake rigging has been applied. Now that doesn't affect the running at all. It stands well clear of the railhead. And I'm just really pleased that we've managed to get this model back into running condition. And I would not have been able to do it without my subscribers and you guys emailing me, leaving the comments. And a special thanks to the guy who sent me a link to the brass gears in Germany. I don't have your name to hand now, but you know who you are. A really big thanks for that. And I'm just really pleased that we've got this stunning looking loco back into running order. And I really do like the look of this model. It's a purposeful, powerful looking design. And like I said in the first video, proved to be the inspiration for British Railway's own warship class. If you've got anything you'd like to see featured in a future episode of Trash to Track, please email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com. And we'll have a look at getting it sent in, and who knows, it may even feature in an episode all of its own. Thank you again for everybody that commented and pointed me in the direction of spares for this model. I'm overjoyed it's running, and I'm going to leave you now with some shots of it running around the garden hauling some appropriate Deutsche Bahn coaches. So thanks again, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye for now.